Good morning.
Morning. How's it going?
Good. Colin, how are you?
Doing all right.
All right. Good morning, Aaliyah.
Good morning.
I'm just checking in with some people who are wondering about getting on.
Okay.
Hey, Colin?
Yeah.
Would you mind, I think would you mind, what do you call that? I'm sorry, muting so that we don't hear your background noise
Yes, I can do that.
until you're ready to speak. Then, of course, you would just unmute.
Okay.
Thanks. Morning, Chelsea. She's muted.
Good morning.
Okay. All
How
right,
are
we're
you?
recording already. This will be 5 minutes that Aaliyah will have to cut out. Let's start with Rick. Can you unmute? All right, maybe not until he does. Let's see, we got Colin. Can you unmute? Just report in here.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Colin Laughlin from Springfield, Colorado. We've been this is our first year doing vegetables this year. We started Six Town Farms in Beck County. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right, you're driving.
Yeah, I am driving to Denver.
Okay. Linnea, could you introduce yourself real quickly?
Yeah, Linnea Everett from Baca County, Pritchett. So we sell beef.
Okay. And let's say, how about Jessica and Fernando? Would you just introduce yourselves quickly?
Hi, I'm Jessica, Jess from Livewell, Colorado, doing statewide work in procurement.
Fernando Chefes from Livewell, Colorado. I'm a chef instructor.
Okay, great. Had you on many of these calls. Heather, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Heather Heinrichs, and I run Stanton County Foods over here in Johnson, Kansas.
Good deal. And next to you, Mitzi, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mitzi Jett, Springfield, down in Baca County. I'm a market gardener.
Perfect. Okay. And Justin?
I'm Justin Trammell, and I have Tierbloom Farm, and I do lots of different poultry and sheep and hogs and cattle and some vegetables. So I do a whole lot of different stuff.
Great. All right. Letty, you want to introduce yourself quickly? Might be tied up for a minute. Okay. Rafe, how about you? Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Rafe Schroeder. I live in Campo, Colorado. We farm and ranch here in Campo and have a commercial spraying and fertilizing business. And then we've in the last year, we've really ramped up our beef sales, selling all natural beef directly to the consumer. So hello, everyone, and thanks for having me on the call.
All right. Good to have you on. I see some people coming in and going out. But Rick, can you introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah. Hold on. All right. Yeah, there's two of us here. This Rick Robbins with Colorado Mills, also Kent Woolert. We're a feed mill and oilseed processing facility, Lamar, Colorado, providing a lot of all natural products for beef, goat, sheep, and also doing some swine and some poultry rations.
Thanks, Rick. We've got a David McFerrin. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
It's actually Chrissy McFerrin, a different computer.
All right.
Chrissy McFerrin with Badger Creek Ranch. We raise grass-finished beef, pastured pork, chicken, turkey, and lamb.
Okay. And where are you located?
We're just outside of Salida, Colorado.
All right. Got a few more on here. B. Borden. Don't know you, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, my name is Brittany Borden with 4B Meats out of Groover. We sell all natural F1 Wagyu beef.
Great. Thank you for being on, Brittany. And 420-8351, 806 number. Who would that be?
That's me, Brittany again. I had I used my phone for my microphone, so thank you, dear.
All right, you got it all set there. We got somebody, I think also from Spearman on. I'll try to introduce those other folks later. I think we're going to move all into our call. Good to have you all. I see Liza. How are you doing, Liza? Good. All right. So is that Mr. Wallert there? If you want to introduce yourself real quickly.
I'm Kent Bullard with Colorado Mills. I'm with Rick Robbins.
Okay. All right. Good to have most people placed here. I'm going to hold off on Alan because we're going to meet him in just a minute. Welcome to the call. It's hopefully we'll have an hour well spent here. A lot of you on to chime in today, which is great. This is a topic I've wanted to cover for a long time, local and regional meat processing and marketing. What's interesting about this for Ogallala Commons is we're doing food shed rebuilding or development work in Southeast Colorado, which most of you are from there. We've done this for at least since 2012 in Llano Estacado region, Amarillo, Lubbock, Midland, and Odessa. But if you look at these areas, and this is, I'm going to kind of refer to that list of butchers and custom processors. If you look at this area we're living in, we have a lot of beef. We have a lot of meats. If you go back 100 years, everybody had a way of accessing this local supply. Almost everybody had somebody who could butcher, knew how to, hang an animal, process an animal. So that turned into something else over the decades. But if you go back probably to the 80s, I would think this list of meat processing facilities was twice as long. At least it was 50% longer. So it's getting smaller, and this is really an important issue for us because as we try to strengthen, have resilience, and rebuild our local food sheds, one product that we have a plentiful supply of is not apples or oranges, but we have meats. But for us to have those meats to our local populations, to customers, to consumers, we need local processors. So one of the things I wanted to do was just make this list and see how it looked in our area, which is really covering about parts of 5 states. I got a little feedback on this list, a couple of corrections that people sent me, which were helpful. So this is kind of what I would say is the geography, of a geography of this local processing. And one thing that we found out is that a lot of us in various states tend to use some of the same processors. One, because there's not so many USDA inspected facilities and a lot of people need that. So for this call today, in addition to having some local producers speak into this topic, tried real hard to get some custom processors, and they're really busy right now. So I think it's going to work out. We'll see. But we have the rest of you, so we're going to proceed with that. First trio of people are some local meat producers, and we're going to hear from them first, and then hopefully we'll get Isaac Chavoya on here, and then we'll just proceed through our call. So first off, I'm going to call up my brother Alan, and not just because he's my brother, but one reason I wanted Alan to be on here is he's done this a long time. I've been his customer. My wife and I have been customers at least almost 20 years. So I think, Alan, you've done this 25 years. So you've been in a long time. So I wanted you to introduce yourself briefly, just a little bit about your operation, and then what's really working for you as far as selling locally and regionally, and what are some of your biggest challenges. And I'm going to ask the same questions to Letty and to Rafe. But we'll start with you, Alan.
Okay, well, as Daryl said, my name's Alan Barkenfeld, and in 1994, I came back to the Nazareth area from college, and I bought 11 cows and started pie down meats. Of course, when it began, it was just a beef operation. Now we offer lamb and chicken and goat, bison, eggs, and we even offer some of the grains we harvest to some of our customers for grinding into flour and things like that. That's just what we do in a nutshell. Our gross sales, one of the questions was, what are your annual sales? Roughly, gross sales are somewhere in the $500,000 to $600,000 annually. We peaked at over 700 a while back, and this year, as crazy as it is, I expect to rival that again. Successes, I've always, as much as I like to yap, I've always prided myself on being a good listener. And I think that's how we've developed all these product lines, is listening to what people wanted. As I make these sales to them, I try to listen to what their needs are, what they want us to do, and whether it fits into what Pie Dome is about, and try to mesh the two. And I think we've done a really good job of finding people to grow products that we can't do for ourselves. I mean, we do the beef, we do the lamb, goat. I've got a pig grower. My chicken grower that I had for many a year fell apart this last year, but I'm hoping Justin will be able to pick up that slack. And I'm, like a bison grower, just people who are looking for those kind of things. We checked around and was able to find somebody who fit into what we would say would be the Pie Dome certified, grew it the right way we wanted. So I think we've done very good at that, but I think our biggest success has been our delivery routes that we began in the late 90s. I know Joe Salatin's big on these metropolitan buying clubs. We didn't have a fancy name for it back when we started, but we had these delivery routes through Texas and a few other places, and that's really been, our marketing has really been our strength, I guess. Usually the problem is you grow a lot of stuff and have a freezer full of meat and don't have a place to go with it. But we've never really had that problem, fortunately. Didn't go out seeking that. It was just kind of serendipity that one person told somebody in Dallas who told somebody in Houston. But we've really kept those delivery routes. Those customers are very loyal. And I run those myself just because I feel like we sell a relationship first and then the product follows. Challenges, always been tough to find suitable grazing. Luckily, we have CRP around us, and most of those growers aren't really into spraying and things like that. They'd rather us graze them. So we've been able to tackle that challenge in that way. Labor's always been a bit of an issue because I spend a lot of time on the marketing end and the growing end, but having somebody to box orders and things like that has always been tough. And I look back, we've always complained about the slaughter facilities because one of our stories has been that we feel like we raise things from conception to consumption has been our little motto, and we lose control at the very end. We can work for 2 years to raise a beef up to slaughter weight, and in 2 weeks the butcher can have it messed up, and I've just never had time to control that part of it. So I've always let that one, that's a little 2 or 4 week window where we lose control. And I look back at one of my old newsletters that I wrote back in the early 2000s, and there was a section in there called the Slaughterhouse Blues, and we're still singing that same tune. It's just on about the 6th verse. And this verse is really different because instead of it being, they can mess things up, now it's, hey, there's a shortage of them, and we're kind of getting squeezed out by all these people who come to slaughter their animals. There's just not enough country slaughterhouses now. So that's the 6th verse of our Slaughterhouse Blues, I'd say.
All right. Thank you, Alan. That's good. You laid out some good points for us to chew on. I'm going to move us over to talk to Letty McKinney in Johnson, Kansas. So Letty, would you just repeat the same process in your own way?
Yep, I will. I'm Letty, and I have a company called MC Bar Meat Co. Eventually, we just do beef right now, so that's kind of, we don't have poultry or sheep or eggs. It's a newer company where we've been doing this for 2 years. So our annual sale, or our gross sales, are around 70,000 to 100,000. And I would say our biggest success is I'm a younger generation, so I use social media a lot to market our beef. And I think there's so much power in social media. So I would say figuring out that and connecting with consumers, just like Alan said, it's better at listening. We listen to what people want and then just kind of go that way, because I think that's one of the biggest issues we've had in the beef industry in the past, is just not listening to what consumers want. And shame on us, because that's our market, is the consumers. So that's really an important part for us. The biggest challenge that we face is just inventory management. Since we keep all our calves to go to slaughter eventually, it's hard to gauge from year to year. Whenever we wean calves or before we sell them, we go through them then and see which ones we're going to take to slaughter. And it's a 2-year turnaround, so that makes it a whole different ballgame to try and figure out, just inventory management and where we're going to keep them, where we're going to graze on. And then just trying to get them to the consumers eventually. So that is definitely the biggest challenge I've faced. And since I've never done this before, it's learn as you go, but it's been really good and fun in the process. So.
Quick follow-up, Letty. You are from Johnson, right? From
Yes.
that area?
I'm from Johnson.
Okay. So you got into this because talking to you another time, this was a way for you to come back.
Yes. Yep. This is my way to add value to our operation. There was no way it was going to support another person unless I brought value back to our operation. So this is kind of my venture on what I'm going down to help the operation. So.
Okay. And how many years do you have in this so far of marketing?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, great.
Yep.
All right.
So.
Good. Thanks for those challenges you raised. They're a little different, and that's helpful to get a big picture. So we're going to jump across another state line to Southeast Colorado. Rafe Schroeder, would you come on next and go through those lines of questions and answers?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. My name's Rafe Schroeder. I live in Campo, Colorado. We farm and ranch. I'm 5th generation and farm with my mom and dad and my wife and my brother and his wife and kids. And I've got a little boy, Briar. He's 13 months old. So we kind of added a few things onto our farm this year. We've started a pretty good sized garden. We took on a CSA program to supply the elderly of Baca County. Colin Laughlin, he's on the call. He's headed up that garden this summer and done a real good job. And, as COVID came around the corner and things started intensifying there, I just got a wild hair in March to start putting on butcher appointments in several different packing houses. So for those that couldn't get butcher appointments, I'm probably part of that reason. So I apologize for that. But more than anything that drove me to do that is we had a lot of cattle on feed. We're not a great big operation, but I wouldn't say we're small. We run about anywhere from 800 to 1,000 mama cows most of the time, and we had about 1,500 head of calves on inventory when this COVID hit, and we didn't have one hedge anywhere. So we were really up a creek, and I wasn't about to start selling things for the bottom dollar. So I just kind of, me and my family, we decided, we need to think our way out of this. And one way to do that was start marketing beef and directly to the consumer. We'd always done a little bit, 15, 20 head a year, just to friends and family and neighbor, just not even really trying. And I thought, well, if we put in a walk-in freezer, Colin's here to do this garden, we could kind of do a one-stop shop. They come and pick up their beef, grab some vegetables. My mom's got some chicken eggs, got some neighbors with support. We could really grow this deal. And I guess as far as the just meat to direct to the consumer, we're probably in that $125,000 to $150,000 sales range. We've sold 60 to 70 head probably in the last 4 or 5 months since this deal's hit. So, I mean, it's went well for us. I'd say what things that work well is Facebook. I'm going to agree with Letty there. Social media is key to my business. I'm always on a tractor in the field, so it's pretty hard for me to go knock on doors and start selling meat door to door. But that is something we would like to do. We recently bought an ice cream truck that's got a freezer in the front and a refrigerator in the back, and we're getting that all tagged, and we're going to paint it up, and we want to start doing a delivery service of some sort, or maybe, hey, we'll set up at the second Monday in Dalhart, Texas, or just let everybody know where we're going to be on that certain day, and they can kind of come buy things individually. Right now we're selling our beef in bundles, and I guess another challenge that we faced was consumers they just don't have any idea what they're going to get when they go to buy a beef. So instead of taking the guesswork out of it, leaving the guesswork out of it, as far as saying a quarter of a beef, we're just going to say, hey, this is a 100-pound bundle, a 200-pound bundle, a 300-pound bundle, and so forth. And that lets them quantify how much they're getting every time, and the percentage is the same. So as that beef butchers up, you're going to get that percentage of steaks, roasts, and hamburger in your packages. And that's worked really well for us, because most households, they can't even afford, it's hard for them to afford a quarter of beef or half a beef, but they can afford a 50 to 100-pound bundle pretty easily, and it's a lot better beef, and it's cheaper than the store. And so I guess another thing that's worked well for us is this word of mouth. Once we started doing it, that helped a lot. And then being all natural, that kind of gives us an edge over these local stores, Walmart, have you say, just we can bring something to the table that is guaranteed no antibiotics, no feed additives. We're 100% plant-based proteins, no growth hormones. And if I'm going to feed my family something, it's going to be the best. There's no sense in going and doctoring a few and then saying, well, that one didn't make the cut to get on the truck, we're going to kill that one this year and feed that to the family. I don't believe in that. So some of the other guys, and Letty, or Daryl's brother and Letty, they touched on the USDA inspection. That's a big one. Can't sell the beef to anybody without that inspection. So all those packers got hit pretty hard, and they're kind of working through that glut. I've already put on most of my appointments for 2021 and just kind of looking forward, hoping that this keeps rolling. Customer understanding is a big challenge, what they're going to get and how much better quality they're going to get from buying at the store. And logistics is a huge challenge, just getting our beef to the next person in good condition without it being thawed. And I haven't really quite figured out the best way to do that. So far, we just said, come pick it up, and then we're not really responsible from our freezer to their fridge. But I would like to do a more professional way of getting it to them. I guess that's kind of the scope of our operation. Any more questions?
That's very helpful, Rick. You've listed several things we can talk about some more here. First, I just want to check. I don't see Isaac on this call. Isaac, you're not on the call, are you? Man. Okay. Well, Isaac would be a really good one to have on here, because he's the general manager at Brown's Meat Locker, and we probably have 4 people on this call who use Brown's Meat Locker, which is really interesting. So when you talk about Southeast Colorado or Southwest Kansas or north of Texas Panhandle, there's kind of a triangle of USDA plants that people use. I know Letty talked about this with you, and Rafe, I've seen you talk about this. You've got Dalhart, you've got Brown's Meat Locker in Stratford, you've got the folks up in Fowler, Colorado. Let's see, who's that on our list? Anyway, Blue Ribbon, that's not the right name, and then we've got Scott City. Some people, Letty, do you go to Scott City, to that packer?
Yeah, I've used them a couple times, but I mainly use Browns now. So
okay, so this is a real interesting triangle. Linnea, you all use Browns, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, not to give all the credit to Brown, but I talked to him twice, and this was going to be a really good deal to have him on. But as we know, every day the animals come in and have to be processed, so I can only imagine what might happen there. Maybe we'll get our custom butcher, Doug, on around the bottom of the hour. So not sure if we're going to get to hear from the butchers, but we'll circle back on these folks we've just heard from who've given us quite a bit to talk about. One thing I would want to pick up on is Rafe, you said this, Alan, you did too. There's a story you have to sell. So it seems like if you're a local meat producer and you're trying to build a customer base, part of the way you're doing that is with your story of how you do it, which a large commercial brand can't do in the same way, although they have plenty of advertising. But anyway, you have a story. Alan, maybe that relates to what you said about selling a relationship. Is that enough for the three of you? Any of you could respond to this. Does that sell a lot of meats, your story and the relationships you build? Alan, we'll start with you.
With this type of customer, I always say that people are forced into this market now to buy through, a lot of these sales are a function of COVID now, and I don't know that they're going to last once this is over. Those people are, but the real customer who wants this type of product and seeks it out, they're people who I always characterize them, they're people who care more about what they put in their mouth than what they put in their garage. When the economy fell apart in 2000, when was the last one? In 08, I thought, man, this is going to mess up sales bad in Houston and Dallas. Well, no, those people who drove Beamers and Jags came in Chevys and Fords instead. They cut back in other areas of their life. So I think they buy into you as a person more than you think. And I guess the real realization came to me one time whenever we used to be certified organic on all our land, and TDA wanted to certify our meats too. And I said, well, you guys won't make a distinction between organic grass-fed and organic grain-fed, so your label does nothing for me if they didn't understand the difference between the two. Anyway, a few years later, they came up and they wanted to quadruple the price of certification. So I surveyed some of our customers and I said, do y'all are the ones who are gonna pay for this in the end. So I said, do y'all think it's worth that? 90% of them had no idea that we were certified organic. And I said, well, then what were you looking for? What were you buying for? Well, we bought because of you. We believed you did it the way you said you were, and we trusted that. And I realized then that, hey, it's not meat I'm selling a relationship to these people. And those are people who are going to be with you in the long run. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with these COVID sales or not, but I'm not staking our future on them. But the story is what these people, you're selling your reputation to them, I feel like. So as far as your story, they're buying into all that. They want to know when it rains. They want to know how are the animals doing. Yes, I think the story is very important.
That's a really good illustration. I failed to mention to all of you, if you have any questions or comments you want to make, please put them in the chat box. That way we can see them and not miss anybody's questions or thoughts that you'd like to speak into this conversation.
Don't get me wrong, the product quality is very important and integrity, but.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good point you make. I think Rafe said something about selling bundles. How do you market? How do you sell this product that's got a story and build this relationship? Could you just talk about that, Alan? How did you start? When you start from scratch, how do you build this customer base? What kind of product do you offer?
And that was a very big issue in '90 when we slaughtered the first animals. I think I slaughtered 2, filled up that chest freezer, and ate most of it, gave most of it away between those 2. But the package we offered then was very similar to what Rafe was talking about, and we still offer that same one. We took an animal, a carcass, and divided it 8 ways. We had this many ground beef, this many arm roast, this many chuck roast. We divided it 8 ways and called it came out to about 50-pound box, and we called that our beef variety package. And that's exactly what he's alluding to. And we started that in the mid '90s, and that package is still the most popular package we offer. It gives people a savings versus buying the individual cuts. They like that. It helps you clear out your stock without having a bunch of carryover, which is what we were getting from places like Eat Right. They want you to butcher another calf because they ran out of sirloins. That's a problem when you're starting off. So selling a proportional amount of the animal was the way to go then, and still is very appealing.
Great. Just to follow up, Letty, I'm going to ask you about social media. You alluded to it, so did Rafe. So what are you doing on social media? Can you just give us an idea?
Yeah, and it's just about selling the story, just like Alan's talking about. I mean, people want to trust you, so that's just, I mean, you just show them, you know, if you're building fence, all of us know how fun building fence is. People want to see that. They want to know what you're doing, how you're rotating. They want to, and that's how you build your relationship. I do it a lot through Instagram. I do a little bit of Facebook just because that's an older crowd, but the younger crowd, people my age, do a lot of Instagram. So I do a lot of stories, and people just want to see when you're moving cattle, did you get rain? You know, what are you doing on your farm and ranch? And just being transparent and open with it. There's so many people out there who they don't understand what you're doing or why you do it. And that's the communication barrier that we need to see, especially in the agriculture industry, is just building that trust. I'm not out here to kill you with an antibiotic, but if an animal gets sick, I am going to give them one. Just like if you get sick, you're going to go to the doctor and get an antibiotic. And it's the same concept, and just bridging that gap, communicating with the customers on, you know, what we do and why we do it. And that's so important. And that's how I build the trust, is just through Instagram and Facebook. So it's just building a relationship. That's all it is.
Do you post consistently, Letty? Do you like try to discipline yourself to do like 3 posts a week, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I do. Especially on Instagram is definitely 2 to 3 posts a week. Facebook, I've been a little bit lax here lately, but it's usually about 1 post a week. I could do more on Facebook, but it seems like more of my traffic is on Instagram. And Facebook's more about my local customers. Instagram is more of the people across the country, you know, just California or Georgia or wherever, because I do ship a lot of beef too. So Instagram is more people not as local. Facebook's more about local people. So I do a little bit of both.
Okay. We got one question here in the chat box. Alan, what are some of the things that worry you when the animals make it to the slaughterhouse? You mentioned not having control. What can go wrong? That is from Fernando. Can you respond?
Well, I mean, I guess every butcher wrestles with them, a customer saying, I don't feel like I got my meat back. And that's what all our customers ask. How do you know that you got yours? And talking about social media, there's this pictures I always want to post on there, and I have posted of our carcasses hanging in the cooler, because you can tell. I've got a very striking one right now that I want to post, because it shows our carcass next to a grain-fed carcass, and shows the difference in fat. And the difference is not in the amount of fat so much as it is in the color. And people who say you can't get a grass-fed carcass fat like you can a grain-fed, yes, you can. But I'm getting off the subject a little bit. In there, after I slaughter animals, I go in and look at them on the rail, and they've always been labeled correctly. So that's one thing I've always feared, is that they're going to put the wrong label on my carcasses, but I've never had a problem with that. Now, once they get in the processing room, you know, they can mess up your cutting order. It's been done. But unless you're at a point where you can run that process or run that plant too, I don't know that you have a whole lot of choice. I feel like we're over a barrel right now as far as that goes. You're just at their mercy, and you just hope your business is worth enough to them that they'll take care of you. Melvin Eads was always that way. A lot has changed now since that place sold, but I don't, short of building my own place, I don't know what else you're going to do except try to get in the good graces of them. And right now, it doesn't matter how bad a job they do, they're stacked up for a year, because there's just that much demand for their service right now.
Another quick follow-up question, Alan. Where do you process? I think that is from Chrissy asking, where do you process?
Well, right now at Eads, but I've used Keeter when they were inspected. I've taken meat to beeves to Portales. I've taken them down to Wolford. I've probably used 8 different butchers, and still wish I had my own. There's just not a perfect answer to that, and even having your own probably isn't perfect, but I do these just out of convenience and the fact that I've had a relationship there for so long, but I like to tell them it's not my choice that I'm there.
All right. Rafe, you were talking about logistics. Does some of the things you're hearing here resonate with what you brought up?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of people that has asked me to ship too, just like Letty, and I guess with the local demand and having enough customers right here locally and not be able to get it processed quick enough, I never really had much of an inventory to be able to start shipping. But now we're kind of getting ahead of the curve and we're starting to fill the freezers, and you know, we're just like a day out now. They could call and get meat tomorrow if they wanted. Before, it was a 8-month wait or 8-week wait, waiting for this meat to get processed. I feel like on a local level, if we're wanting to sell beef to consumers, we have to start looking under our nose to begin with. So let's start looking at some local restaurants. Let's look at the local grocery stores. Even, you know, get as close to home as we can, because the cafes, any of that, it's just a lot of that meat is shipped in off food trucks, and it comes straight from the packers. So if there's anything that we do in Southeast Colorado, we produce a lot of beef. And to me, I hear it all the time is, well, farmer and ranchers, you all need to shop local. You need to keep the money local, you know, support your grocery stores, your hardware stores, keep it local. Well, I feel like as a farmer, I try to do that all that I can. But on the other side of the ball, these restaurants and grocery stores, most of their meat, if not all of it, is coming in on food trucks. So to me, that's pretty antagonistic and hypocritical as far as our businesses in this county. And I don't want to say any names or, you know, point people out. That's not my goal. It's just a mindset that the people of our area, they're not demanding local beef. So our restaurants and grocery stores they're not pushing local beef. So before we can get that done and sell our beef locally, we have to educate the public, saying, hey, you know, you're probably getting something from a packing house that bought, it could be a Mexican steer from Mexico for all you know, it's in hamburger. And I myself, I'd much rather eat something, even if it cost me 20% more, that I know where the source is from and who got that calf from start to finish. And so I guess I've really tried to focus in on that. It's pretty tough to get into restaurants. That hamburger that they get out of the big packers, there's all sorts of tricks to the trade. They inject water in it to make the weight more, and they get that ratio just of lean meat to fat and water, that content just perfect, where yeah, it'll still grill up and make a hamburger, you know, but it prices the local guys like us out of it, because it's really tough to compete when you get a really good quality product to something as low quality as that. And that's what people are eating when they go to any restaurants, is it's stuff like that, the cheapest meats they can get on the food trucks. And I don't know a good way to change that, but that bothers me. And I've recently got some meat into the local grocery store. I went in there the other day and they've got it on the shelves, and so we'll see how that goes. That's a good sign. They're trying to work with this, and again, I just hope it's not too much more expensive than what they're getting off them trucks. And I've got my prices down just where it just covers the cost of the calf and the transportation and the time I put in it to get it from A to B. And so I've got it as low as I can to the grocery store. So hopefully they can still make a profit and it'll pick up in our area, and locals will demand that locally produced meat. So.
All right, you raised some good points that I want to take up in the discussion here later. We got some follow-up questions to Letty, but Letty, I'm going to hold those for a minute because we've had Heather on since the beginning, and Rafe has given us a nice segue into local stores having, grocery stores having local beef. So Letty was nice enough to introduce me to Heather, and she manages a store in Johnson. So we can't get more local than that, small town. and you're carrying local beef. And I think your husband manages a store in Syracuse, maybe. Heather, can you tell us?
Yeah.
Give us a little
Yes,
background. Okay.
Yeah, and we actually have 3 stores. Our last one, the brand new one, is in Walsenburg, Colorado. So, but background, I've been in the grocery business since '95 when I was in high school. Went off to college, got my graphic design degree. Didn't like it, so ended up back at home again. And I've been managing this grocery store since '99, so 21 years. You know, let's see, about 2 years ago, I would say, I think, is when Letty first came to me, when she first kind of started getting all her stuff going on, and it just didn't work out the way, you know, it needed to. And then she got all her ducks in a row, and it just really worked out perfect how the Corona just started up. And then I called Letty, a week after that happened. And then she's just been great ever since. I've placed, I think, 3 orders from her now, and I probably need to get another one from you, Letty. So you'll get a text from me later. But oh gosh, I don't know, USDA versus the state inspection. You know, we didn't really have to deal with the USDA because we didn't go across state lines. So since I was getting it from Letty, it only had to be state inspected. So if I needed to have her go to, you know, Colorado, then it would have to be USDA state inspected, at least how I understood it from our state inspector. As I've been, you know, doing this as long as I have, I'm actually cutting meat today because my butcher is on vacation. But it's just a flip-flop how all this COVID stuff has happened, and how you still have no idea if it's still going to continue to happen. You know, like everybody has said, you just don't know what the future holds. And, you know, we are not selling as much meat right now because they are buying from you guys, which is great, you know, because they can get it from you cheaper. And, you know, that's why I partnered up with Letty, you know, so I could still pass on, you know, a good quality meat. And well, I don't know, I guess it's just been a golden opportunity to, you know, have a hometown, you know, and you guys are close enough. You're just right across the border. Most of you guys, you know, you're maybe an hour away. So
what does your husband have up in Syracuse? Does he have local meats?
Actually, Letty provides for him too. Even he's only actually gotten 1 order from her, and it was hamburger and things like that. They didn't have the big, huge meat shortage like we started to have. It's a whole nother, even just 30 minutes away. We sell things that they don't, and they sell things that, you know, I don't even carry on the shelf because they'll just outdate and just go in the you know, the bins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's actually been in the business a little bit longer than me. I think 94, 95 is when he started in the business, but we got married in 2000. I don't know. Is there anything I'm missing?
That's a good, so it would have been difficult for you to do this if Letty hadn't come to you and said, or you all hadn't connected that way. That's what made having local meats in your store possible, right?
Yes, most definitely. She's definitely been a blessing to more than just me. You know, I know she gets dry ice for me on my trucks on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I get it for free, so she gets it for free. So, you know, just for some of you guys that want to send out, you might actually contact your grocery store and find out when their truck is and see if you can get some dry ice from them.
Okay. So, Rafe, do you have this kind of a situation where in the grocery store you're selling in? Is it somebody that you contacted and created this kind of connection with, or how did it come about?
Yeah. I mean, we just lived here my whole life, and when the COVID deal hit, you know, we was all worried on a local level that the meat supplies would run short. And I mean, to give you an idea, I had a Sonic franchise in Houston, Texas call me wanting to buy hamburger and for ground beef for their stores, and they said, how many pounds could you get us a week? And I said, oh, I mean, if we project things, we could do 2,000-3,000 pounds of hamburger a week pretty easily. And they said, well, that'll do like 42 stores, and we have 180 stores on this franchise. If you could do the 2,000 this week or this month. We would like to do the 8,000 next month. And I just kind of threw a number out there. They said, well, what would you charge? And I was like, well, I guess, heck, I mean, everybody else gets $7 a pound. And then the greedy side of me said, I'll take $7 a pound. And then the more I thought about it, you know, if I started selling to Sonic Houston, then that would short all my local guys. That would short all my customers that are depending on me. So in the end, I didn't do it. But they said that one franchise uses it's just a ton of meat a month. Like if I sold to them, it would be 250,000 pounds a month that they got all their stores. There's even more stores than the 180. So if you just take Sonic Houston, they have enough beef that they push just through hamburgers to build their own packing plant. So I kind of approached them like that too. Said, hey, let's just build a packing plant here in Southeast Colorado. Then you guys don't got to worry about it. We'll just supply the beef, and you guys put in the capital, and we'll get it done. And you know, just as soon as the Cargill meat came back on the market for $2.50 a pound, they kicked us. They didn't call back anymore. But back to the grocery store, Baca County Foods here, they just took a whole beef, and I had them fill out their cuss sheets down there at Brown's Meat. And so I hope it works good. I hope it sells. And to me, to change this local food initiative, one thing that needs to happen is the government's already subsidizing a ton of other things. What incentive could we get from a state level or a federal level to say, hey, you know, we're Colorado proud. If you guys would shop local, we'll give you a kickback on buying local. And in the end, that meat never leaves right here. It's all within a closed environment. And so I'd like to see something along them lines come, saying we'll give you, if you buy so many pounds locally, then we'll give your grocery store a tax credit, or we'll give your grocery store a refund at the end of the year. Just something to incentivize them to stay local and support local producers. It might be a far shot, but I guess that's the
all right.
That's the yep.
Thank you for that. I can see that Jessica and Fernando are writing this down for Live Well. Okay, that's good. I wanted to follow up with Heather really quickly. Let's see. I forgot what I was going to ask you, Heather. Isn't that really great? but Letty, we have a couple questions for you, and I'm sure it'll come to me. People are asking, how do you ship your meat, and how do you cover those costs?
Yeah, that was something I struggled with for a long time. And like Heather says, she's such a blessing to me because I get dry ice off of their trucks every Monday and Wednesday, or try to. And that's what I use to ship beef. Is I just wrap it in a brown bag and put it in the box. You know, I usually put about 5 pounds. That's actually all the UPS carriers or FedEx carriers will allow you to put in the boxes, is about 5 pounds of dry ice. And then I have customized shipping liners from IPC that I use. It's definitely an investment whenever you start shipping beef. Those liners run about $20 each a piece to ship, and then also the boxes that I get from Uline. But I do a lot of things it's all about, you know, selling the story again, but I do a lot of things to reuse those. So I actually put in there in my box when I ship, I say, you know, if you want to give back to our local community, ship back a library book or a kid's book or something like that. And a lot of people will ship back the box with the liners in it, so then I can reuse them because they are expensive. And then I give them a 10% discount on their next order whenever they do that. So because those, you know, shipping costs are expensive. But usually on my website, whenever people order, it's based by per pounds, and it will actually calculate the shipping cost in there. So say if I'm shipping to Houston, Texas, it'll be $30 because I do 2-day shipping. Shipping's been very iffy with all of this COVID stuff. So I've been making sure it's 2-day air anywhere I ship, just because 3 days is it's pushing it during the summertime if it's going to arrive there still frozen. So 2-day air is what I do. Normally I use UPS. Sometimes I'll do FedEx. It just depends on where I'm shipping. If I'm shipping to California, FedEx works better. I don't know why. If I'm shipping to the East Coast, UPS works better. So you just have to learn as you go. It's one of those things, but it's been good. So.
All right, that's very helpful, Letty. How much do you think these out-of-state sales are part? What percentage of your business is that?
Honestly, probably about 70%. Besides Heather, I mean, Heather's awesome. I love working with Heather in the grocery store. But I would say I do a lot of out-of-state shipping and stuff like that. So, and it's kind of strange, but a lot of my college friends actually order from me, which is great. I just would have never thought that would have been a huge customer, but they are. So.
Okay, relationships again. Heather, and this is Letty too. Doug looks like he couldn't get on. Doug, the local butcher with K&S meat processing there in Johnson. How does he help in this? I talked to him. He has customers in 3 states also, Southwest Kansas, Southeast Colorado, and the Texas Panhandle. But it sounded like they were covered up with animals. But if you, how does he help you, Letty, and how does the local butcher help you, Heather? Why don't we start with you, Heather?
My local butcher,
Well,
I don't really.
Do you do any business with Doug, or you have your own butcher in the grocery store, I guess?
So Doug is not state certified, so I can't.
Yeah.
So that's why I have Letty on the side. But I mean, yeah.
Okay. Letty, what? Just back to you. What is? How does Doug fit into your operation?
Yeah, I love using Doug when I can. And when I can use Doug is when somebody buys a half a beef, a quarter beef, or a whole beef, and then they pay for processing that way. So then they just pay for the animal, and then I can take them to K&S and use them that way. I did that a lot in the beginning, but as I've grown and it's hard because a lot of people don't understand how much you get with a quarter or a half or a full beef, and a lot of people just don't have the freezer space for, and then also they don't understand it's an investment. Whenever you buy quarters or a half or a whole, it definitely is an investment, and people just don't understand how much money it is. But I love using Doug and Chop, Chris, I guess, but we call him Chop here. They do great work. I love using them, so I wish they were USDA inspected because that would help out a lot, but that's okay. So
this is a question I think we could go on for a while. We've got not very much time left, so I want to cover. Alan, there's a couple questions like, let's see here in the chat box that I think maybe you could. This question from Fernando about hard time moving beef, like ground beef. Are there any cuts that aren't as desirable? And this might speak to, you might also work that in with chasing restaurants, or again, how do you build these customers and restaurants and grocery stores in general? Your thoughts on that? Scattershot there.
There are a few cuts, I guess, that build up in inventory, but I just will put those on sale. But it's definitely not ground beef. If you make good ground beef, well, it depends on who you're marketing to. I'm glad to hear that people are having success with restaurants and retail outlets, because I never had much luck with them. And maybe it was just because in the 90s they didn't know what grass fattened meat was. And I never went back to them once I developed my market with families. That worked much better for me, because a family will go to their freezer, and if they've got a bunch of sirloins and not many ribeyes, well, that's what they're having. They'll figure out something to eat that utilizes sirloins. If they have a bunch of roast, they're much better at clearing your variety of cuts that come out of a carcass than a retail outlet like Eat Right was one that I was using early on. And I couldn't go out and butcher another calf when they ran out of something because they had it priced wrong. So I'll put things on sale if I have a buildup with them, but generally our inventory stays pretty stable. But people always like a sale. As far as what was the other thing about restaurants, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with restaurants or stores, just because the name of our game has been to deal with the individual family.
So when you do a monthly delivery in Amarillo and Lubbock, in addition to these Houstons, Austins, all that, you do that every 2 months when you make that. How important is the Amarillo and Lubbock monthly sales? How's that for you?
Well, they were for most of the time they've been dwarfed by those other cities, and I don't know what I guess I'd just be on a much smaller scale without those. But I guess we got to a point when we started going to Dallas and Houston by way of somebody else telling someone about, and it started that ball rolling. We didn't have many sales up here in the Panhandle because nobody knew what grass-fattened meat was. So we were kind of at a crossroads where, and I was a loan officer at a bank, so it wasn't like I had to have the sales. I had my other income, but there was the option for me to say, this is a great idea, but it's just not feasible. Let's close up shop, call it a lesson learned. But instead, I took advantage of these people downstate in the bigger metropolitan areas who knew what this product was, and that kind of kept the business going for those years while Amarillo and Lubbock area or the Panhandle area came online. And now the sales are substantial there, but I didn't want to say, hey, I appreciate you guys in Houston that have been with us for 5 or 10 years. You guys in Dallas, you guys in Austin, thanks, but we're going to just concentrate on Amarillo and Lubbock. They kept us in business, and I feel like I owe that to them. Well, by virtue of that, they've been spreading the word, and so your market's growing down there too. So I guess I don't want to cut those folks off just because they've, I mean, we don't have to have their sales, but they are very helpful. But and I would rather they find somebody that they can depend on down there, but some of them just don't want to go to that, or they don't have the product line that we have, or they haven't developed the trust. Anyway, I guess our bigger issue now is when a new customer comes, we're almost like the meat Nazi now. Nope, we can't take no meat for you because we got to take care of these people we've already been cultivating all these years until we're able to ramp up production more. But yeah, you got to know somebody to get on our list now. I hate to say that.
You used to say some years back there was room for other producers. You still believe that?
It's getting a little what do you call it? Satiated the market now. I mean, there's, especially with this COVID deal, that's creating more customers, but there's also a lot more people, like Rafe was saying, that just said, man, I'm not going to take this price that that I'm getting in the Chicago game here, where they're telling me at the sale my animal's worth this, and I know they're not. I know they're worth more. I'm going to take some to the butcher and take my chances, and a lot of people have done that. So they've there's a glut of meat, I guess, in the small country locker now, and that's where the backup is right now. As far as, yes, I'm booked out to next year as well. It's just, like I say, you can be a bad butcher and be booked out for a year now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got just a few minutes. I see a couple of our producers on here. If you have any questions, Justin, you might chime in again about poultry. How does that happen?
Are you asking about like the licensing side of it?
Mm-hmm.
At least in Texas has an exempt program, and so, well, actually, in 2019 they just changed the law where you can do up to 1,000 birds a year without having any license. Now you can't cross state lines, and you can't sell those to other like establishments. They have to be end user sales, but you can do up to 1,000 birds. And then if you want to do birds past that, you have to go through the process of building a facility and getting the state inspectors to come out and basically okay your facility. But once you have that, then you can butcher up to 20,000 birds now, and it no longer has to be only end user sales. So I can now take my birds and sell them to a restaurant or grocery store or different store or whatever I want to do with them. Process wasn't terrible. It did take a long time to do it, and I definitely had to spend some money on the facility. But it's been pretty good as far as that goes. I know that there's quite a few states. I think there's 20 some odd states that have similar programs. I don't know off the top of my head what they are just because I obviously don't live there. But it's definitely been worth it to do it. But it was not easy by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I could ask Jess real quick. Do you know what the rules are in Colorado for poultry, on-farm poultry processing and sales?
I wish I had that knowledge off the top of my head, but I feel like it's something similar to what Justin was saying, was where there are some exemptions depending on the size of the farm, and 20,000 does seem to ring a bell, but I do not know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, this is Liza, and actually, Justin, where are you? Because I thought you were in Colorado. That's exactly what Colorado's rules are. I just don't know what the inspection process is. Is it CDA or is it state veterinarians? Or there was, because I know Dora did they just redid their meat processing rules like 2 years ago and included all the poultry, just like you described.
I got you. At least here in Texas, it's through the TDA, the Texas Department of Agriculture. I'm not sure who would be through, maybe y'all's Department of Agriculture up there, but that's who I had to talk to.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot more meat stuff we could talk about. We really focused on beef today, but I thought we got some really good points made here about, people who are starting out trying to, make a living. First of all, that's really important. But even though we have lots of beef, that's the thing we produce in these food sheds that we have a lot of. There are all kinds of ways people get meat right now, buying it at the supermarket, or they know someone, things like that. So it's an interesting, not only interesting, it's vital. It's vital to how we're going to eat and how we're going to have nutrient dense food. So we'll explore this some more, but I really appreciate all of you being on today, giving an hour of your time and sharing your experiences and thoughts. We'll have this available as a recording you can watch. We'll put the chat box in there as well. And to everybody out there doing this every day, we wish you success. I have really enjoyed being able to buy my meat from my brother for this long of a time, and I don't want to change. I'm like all those other people who don't want to change. I'm used to what I can get and how I do it. So, but where you can, making connections with your family, your friends, that's great. I mean, it seems like this kind of meat is really based on relationships. So thank you all for your time, and we'll put things in the chat box so that we can follow up on them that if we didn't get them covered today. I see a couple more questions, but we'll have another call next month, first Wednesday of the month, on a different topic. I think we're going to try to dig into how would you get these local food products into senior bundles, double up food bucks, any WIC programs. There's some opportunities there we might not be seeing. And again, we'll try to cover it from a multi-state, Colorado, Kansas, Texas perspective. And then further down the road, we're going to put out a little survey. So if you have some other topics that you'd like to explore in this monthly call, we'd like to look at that, okay? But everybody, hope you get rain, and I hope your custom butcher has room for your products, for your animals, so we can keep getting these meats. Thanks everybody for your time.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you, Daryl.
Okay, appreciate you all.
Thanks, guys.